Good evening. We'll call this meeting to order. We do have one missing commissioner, but we have enough for quorum. So could we start with a moment of silence? All right, well, let's now stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item is the approval of the agenda. I would like to make one change, which is to move the Northampton County High School item to right behind item 7, which is Mosley Architects. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Here on item 12, it says Conway Fire Department proposal for new fire district. Looking in my pack, I don't have any information for that. Could that be deleted from the agenda, or how do we move ahead with that?
You can give it to us when that time comes.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I believe that the only closed session item will be under personnel. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If we can delete the attorney-client privilege and EDC prongs.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as provided, including the changes. Second.
All right, any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye, Broadnax Taylor.
Aye. The motion is carried. Agenda is approved. Okay, County Attorney, would you read the conflict of interest statement?
Be happy to. In accordance with the rules of procedures adopted by this board in section 153A-44 of the North Carolina General Statutes, it is the duty of every member present to vote on all matters coming before the board, unless there is a conflict of interest as determined by the board or by law. Does any board member have a conflict of interest with respect to any agenda item appearing before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict and the board will consider the matter.
Does anyone have a conflict?
No conflict, Broadnax Taylor.
No conflict.
No conflict.
No conflict. Okay, the next item is our consent agenda. I'm not sure if all the public remembers that we are going to a process now where we will hear things tonight and vote on them at the next meeting, with the exception of the consent agenda, which is some minutes of previous meetings. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye, Broadnax Taylor.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Next item is our citizens' comments.
Would you like me to?
Yes,
Review the-
yes. Would you?
All right, so board members, we have two citizens who've signed up. And again, if anyone wishes to speak, the clerk to the board has a sign-up sheet. You're free to grab one and fill it out and hand it up to me, please. When you're recognized, please approach the podium. You will have 5 minutes to make your comments to the board. Need my glasses. If you have any questions of the board, you will receive a subsequent oral and written response from the Board of County staff. The board will not respond or otherwise engage in a dialogue with you during your allotted time. And we just ask that you be respectful of the forum, and the chair has the authority to maintain the decorum of the meeting. Thank you. Commissioners, the first citizen, Mr. Alan Tashima.
Good evening. Thank you very much for letting me speak tonight. I also want to thank the county for providing some of the answers to my questions. I'm still waiting on others. I will try to cover 4 areas tonight. 1, the architecture awards contract for the new jailhouse, the Gaston Waterline project. Renewal, oh, there we go. Renewal of the hazardous waste removal and the release of the RFP for the county solid waste curbside and dumpster container pickup. First of all, the architecture award contract. During my review, it came to my attention that this contract, or this agreement as it states, has a lot of holes in it. And the holes are things like fill in the blanks. And what was going to be approved is there's no fill in the blanks. People have excused that. I'm going to cover just a few of the things that I found to me that are very, very wanting. Yeah, biggest thing was this a competitive award? If not, why not? Looks like a sole source. And what was the justification? The next thing is that this agreement is supposed to be a design and architecture of an, as it specifically says, a 90-bed facility located on the property of the Odom State Prison. It's interesting that the basic services that are listed are structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and civil engineering to design a building. Those are basic, and those are in the cost agreement of about $2.1 million. But it's very interesting that there is no design for food laundry facilities. There's no roofing design. There's no landscaping or fire protection. Those are all considered supplemental. And what's going to happen, the way I'm reading this, is the county's going to have to pay hourly wages for any of those things, okay? So just basically, they're going to get I could draw this thing, sheet of paper, 90 beds with no requirements. Doesn't tell you how big a jail cell's got to be. It doesn't tell you whether it's going to have a sink, a toilet. There's no definition for showers or anything. Basic things that you would expect to be designed into a building. Next, the Gaston Waterline resolution. I was reading this, and it just seems like in order to get the $14.1 million released from the state, there was supposed to be an engineering report submitted on November. Question, was it done? Number 2, there's supposed to be an upcoming schedule, February 3rd, another milestone. So it's just funny that there's no completion or completeness of what's being required. And then the funding is just contingent on meeting all these requirements. The renewal of the current hazardous material waste. I don't mind this. I think that's a great thing, but it's just very interesting that it's going up from $42.26 $42.26 to $76.67. That's an 82% increase. No justification of why the increase. Plus, there's also a percentage tacked on for fuel. Everybody knows that fuel's gone up. Certain things like that. And then the big thing is that where was it in the 24-25 budget? You had the old one in there, which would have been in effect from July to the end of December. But where's the new portion from January to June? Okay, the last one, which is a funny one. Northampton County released the solid waste curbside and dumpster container pickup. Okay, it's 5 pages long. It's 4 pages of nothing, one page of an index. Then the funny things is that it's got no period of performance. They want to start on 1 July, but it doesn't say when it ends. Okay. The next one, schedule and times. This is the greatest one I love. The thing says, please submit your questions or your proposals by 12 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you. It's interesting that nobody caught any of this. Okay. So anyway, and then there's no definition of a criteria for how often side for us taxpayers have to be picked up. So my recommendation is that none of these be approved by the commissioners because they're the fiduciary people of the county on how we spend money until all these things can be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sylvia Vincent.
Good evening and Happy New Year to all. I would like to thank you first for giving me the information that I requested a couple of months ago, except for one question. And I was told it would be answered by our county manager, Mr. Phillips. The question is, are you monitoring the economic development planning and zoning departments? I'll be expecting an answer from that. My reason for asking this question is that former Commissioner Tyner has stated once that the commissioners give them the authority to make decisions. I thought that was strange and not the correct action for a governing board to take when the lives of a community are in danger. I am under the impression also that information about the revenue received from Sun Energy have to be given to me by the tax department based on the answer that I get, if I understand it correctly. And also, I'm thinking that the money is being pocketed by Sun Energy and very little received by the county. To Commissioner Whitaker and Commissioner Edwards, I don't know how much information you have been given about the issue we have with the solar panels being placed in our community, which is located in the western end of the county, the Voltaire community. There has only been one commissioner that I can literally say have come to see the damage and the saturation of panels that have been installed and continue to be installed, and that is Commissioner Edwards. He has seen the impact and the magnitude of land that has been and is being destroyed by Sun Energy in our community. I feel in my heart that he sees the wrongdoing that has been done. I do hope he will help to make changes to the ordinance so that the same thing does not happen in some other community in Northampton County and no more in ours. There is a moratorium now. I hope that you will come to the area in question and look at what is going on. We will show you what we are up against. Just call us and we'll meet you. After seeing it, I hope you will assist in revising the county ordinance so that it will reflect care and concern for the citizens of the county. That was not the case when Sun Energy was issued permits to do such a large-scale production of solar energy in our community. Highway 46 West, Oak Grove Church Road, and Cherry Tree Road. We know the long-term effects that solar panels will have on our community. Someday, as they are now in the county, they will be abandoned. More than 1 million panels will be left there for our future generations to deal with. I know that you may have others you are receiving recommendations and suggestions from when revising the ordinance, but your decision will be the one to change things and make us a more satisfied county, knowing that Sun Energy or any other company that wants to come to Northampton County and disregard the citizens cannot do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Those are all the comments I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item is Derek Bennett.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I present to you a couple of items. I'll start with the economic development items. The first item is the presentation of contract with Mosley Architects for the design, engineering, and construction management of a new jail facility. This is the topic that was discussed at the last board meeting. It's a standard AIA contract, as I stated, for the design, engineering, and construction of this new facility. We've had several discussions with the sheriff's office, completed review of the current existing jail needs and found that we are in need of a new facility. A request for qualifications was published and subsequently approved by the board in December. In response to that, we were awarded by the North Carolina General Assembly approximately $2 million to complete the due diligence phase of this contract. This includes your schematic design, design development, and construction phases, which total approximately $1.6 million. It's a standard AIA contract that we've reviewed in our office as well as County Attorney McKellar. And so we're presenting this again for recommendation for approval and awarding of the contract to Mosley Architects. If you have any questions on the contract, I will be more than glad to answer to the best of my ability.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Bennett? Okay. All right, what is your next item?
Do you want me to go through all of them, or do you want to consider and vote on each item?
Well, tonight,
Oh,
we
yeah.
won't be voting, so we'll vote at the next meeting. Since we've adopted that process.
Okay. The second item would be the proposed waiver of the 2024 Northampton County ABC Board distribution. In your package, you will have a letter that was provided by the General Manager, Ms. Mia Turo, and the Chairman of the Board, Ms. Iris Williams. I will quickly read this letter since it is fairly short. Dear Northampton County Board of Commissioners, I am proud to announce that the grand opening of the Garrisburg Northampton County ABC store was a huge success. Without the vision and guidance of the Department of Economic Development and your support and investment, this success story would not have been possible. Historically, the Northampton County ABC Board has distributed a share of profits to both the county and townships. Last fiscal year, 2023, approximately $36,270 was distributed to the county. The board intends to continue sharing these profits with the county and municipalities, however, is requesting a one-time waiver for fiscal year 2024. While the ABC Board is currently leasing the building from the county, we have invested approximately $200,000 in the renovation of the new store, more than our initial proposed budget. In an effort to maintain a capital reserve fund to continue serving the patrons of our business, we are requesting a one-time waiver of the Northampton County distribution, not township, for fiscal year 2024 of approximately $38,347. The ABC Board will resume distributing profits during fiscal year 2025. Your continued support and our new strategic plan will help ensure we grow to be one of the best rated ABC stores in Eastern North Carolina. Respectfully, Mia Turo, General Manager.
Okay.
Questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Mr. Bennett, let me understand.
Sure.
So they're asking for a waiver for us because of the expense they incurred in revising that building,
That is correct.
renovating that building.
So every year, from my understanding, a portion of the Northampton County ABC Board profits is distributed back to Northampton County.
Mhm.
According to this letter, in 2023, $36,000 was distributed back. These are funds that the ABC Board has worked to generate, and as being a part of Northampton County, they give back to the county. This also, from my understanding, does not include funds that are distributed to townships, nor does it include alcohol education or training or rehabilitation programs. Those funds are separate. These are just profits that they have worked hard to generate. And because of their expense in the new store this year, they're requesting a one-time waiver to maintain their capital reserve fund.
Mr. Bennett, the $200,000 they spent to renovate that building, where did that money come from? Who paid for that?
They did,
They paid for it,
Yes.
not Northampton
not
County.
Northampton County. Northampton County purchased the building and then subsequently leased it back to the county. So they do pay a monthly lease fee,
Mhm.
but all of the renovations and any costs that have incurred since the acquisition were paid by the ABC board, not the county.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Any other questions on that item?
I must say they have done an amazing job if you have not been to the store.
I have not missed the grand opening, but I've been peeping in there. I'm going in there too.
From what I've been told preliminarily, this has been one of their most profitable seasons
Mhm,
thus far.
mhm.
And I will provide a report to the board, hopefully next month, on the impact that that store has had on Northampton County.
Okay.
So look for that. Any further questions?
I don't think so. What you got next?
Next item, we're gonna move over to planning and zoning. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, just to give you a primer. There's been a concern and questions around shipping containers in the county. As such, the planning board has had several discussions on how to address these shipping containers. The definition, the rules and regulations are very vague, and they really only allow shipping containers on a temporary basis. So a recommendation was made by the planning board to amend the definition of a shipping container as well as the applicable rules and regulations. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McKellar. A public hearing was scheduled to be tonight. However, we had to postpone that until the January 2022 meeting.
That's correct.
So at that meeting, we will have a public hearing to consider the changes to the zoning ordinance.
And just for the record, any citizens who want to see the language of the changes,
Mhm.
you can contact Mr. Bennett or myself.
Yep.
Or the clerk to the board will
Yeah,
provide
she
you.
has it as well.
Yep.
I thought I have. I had one other item which was addressed to solar, which will also be changed. As you know, our department has been focused heavily on solar farms. Key initiatives include educating citizens as well as public officials on solar facilities, revising the solar farm ordinance in conjunction with key stakeholders, as well as inspecting existing solar fields. This has been a lengthy process and will continue to be an ongoing process because the information that we have is not the greatest. I provided you with a copy of a training scheduled for January 23rd. That has been moved to February 15th. So we are inviting all public officials, all commissioners, to a training hosted by the Center for Energy Education to understand and receive a primer on solar facilities. As we work to revise the ordinance, this will come to your benefit as we'll have some background information.
Mr. Bennett, I have a question about the solar farms.
Sure.
You know, it seems like in the meetings in the past, we talked about having an information workshop
Mhm.
for our citizens so they can ask questions.
Yep.
When will that take place? We have not done that yet.
He has not set a date, meaning the Center for Energy Education. So the plan was to host a information session for public officials first,
Mhm.
so that if you were asked questions by your constituents, you would be able to better answer those. So after that, we would then have an information session for the citizens, as well as a public hearing, which will correspond to any changes to the ordinance. So. Now, are you asking specifically for
I remember us saying that we needed to have a workshop or information session for our citizens, so they can come, they got these concerns, valid concerns about solar farms.
That's right.
And we haven't had anything that we said we were gonna have as far as a workshop or any information session, so our citizens can ask questions
Mhm.
and you know, we have a partnership, a dialogue.
That's right.
This energy center, they've done a great job. I have reached out to them. I've tried to develop a partnership with them. And I feel like they're waiting on us to come up with a time.
No, they were waiting on the providers of the information set. So that publication that you have in your package for the training that was scheduled for January 23rd was postponed because the presenters could not make it. So we're bringing a lot of people together to the table. This includes NC State professors, DEQ, other counties. And in order for us to determine a good date, it just takes time. So the initial plan was for public officials to have an information session to better understand solar. Second step would be an information session for citizens to ask those questions. So
I follow you, Mr. Bennett. I'm saying, I think our citizens have been very patient with us. And, you know, they're waiting on us to make some moves as well, and we haven't made any moves and things do come up. But I think they've shown us a lot of grace and a lot of patience when we said we were going to provide something for them. And we haven't done that yet.
I wouldn't say we have not done that. I would say we are working on it and it takes time to do it. Because the department is working very hard on solar. So I would not say that we have not done that. No. And any citizen as well who has questions on solar is more than welcome to call, email, clerk to the board, anybody, and we will gladly answer those questions. If we don't know the answer, we would direct them to the Center for Energy Education, DEQ, or whomever who can better answer those questions.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I hear you, Mr. Bennett. But I'm also saying, you were saying that we're doing a lot of work with solar farms or whatever. Are the commissioners privy to that work? Because those work sessions or whatever y'all were doing, because I haven't heard anything like that. But we you know,
What do you mean work?
are you doing anything? You were saying that you're doing a whole lot of things about solar farms. And I'm asking, are the commissioners privy to what you're doing? Because I haven't heard of anything.
Yes, you are. Any commissioner is more than welcome to ask whatever information that you need. We don't send out our day-to-day tasks. So when I mean the work that we have done, this is field work, this is office work. I can share with you any level of detail that you may request, but it is extensive. You also got to keep in mind that the individuals that work for the county that are on solar, this is, they wear multiple hats. So they're also working on code enforcement, building inspections, which is a part of their duties. So they split their time up in order to get it done. Previously, before I started helping this department, it was no secret that what I came into was, very convoluted. I'm trying to think of a real an appropriate word to use.
Chaotic.
Chaotic. It was very chaotic. And do understand that to fix chaos does not happen overnight. And to fix it properly does not happen overnight. But yes, if you want to stop by, any citizen, any commissioner, to see exactly what we're doing on solar, that would be great. We also do plan to have available to you on January 22nd, a update of what we have done thus far on solar. That would be at the January 22nd meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I appreciate you.
Yep. I must say, I've got to give my hats to everybody that's in my office that has been working on solar. We have literally file cabinets of old papers with no trail. and we have to dig through those crumbs to make sense of what was previously approved and done with solar that we had no control of, but we're working our hardest to fix it. So.
I would like one thing. I know this may take some time to put together, but could we get a list of all the individual farms and when they were done to know what version of the guidelines they would follow? Because, we've changed our zoning rules over time and,
And that's one of the things, and I'll ask that question. Yes, that's one of the things that we are working on, which takes the most time.
yeah, I'm sure that's going to
We
take
have
some research.
we have a list of every farm in the county. We have not released it because there's so many missing pieces of information. So in that map, we call it the master spreadsheet. It includes items such as the number of acres, when it was built, decommissioning plan, buffer requirements, all of that. Our files in the office do not have a paper trail. So we literally have to go to each farm in the field and inspect each farm and go through, I think it's 3 file cabinets to make sense of it.
Right.
It is manually very intense. And we just got to fix it. So.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a task, but I would like to get that when you can get it all together to know which ones fall into what set of rules and so forth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And my only other comment that I would like to share is that as soon as we can have that information session for the citizens, I think it'll be helpful. I know that it's a task to get done, but as Commissioner Barton, as Taylor was sharing, we get a lot of questions and concerns about the solar farms and the solar panels. And I know that I'm fairly new to the Board of Commissioners, and I appreciate this session that you guys that's being offered. However, I do feel like it's important that citizens get this information firsthand too, because in our communities, it's critical that they know and understand what are the hazards of the solar farms or that type of thing. I also needed to know, like, does it do any type of damage to the environment? Does it do any type of, increasing the type of risk for citizens that live around it? So I think if we can have that session, it would help alleviate maybe some of the concerns that citizens may have, because there are a lot of misconceptions out there about solar farms and that sort of thing. So I think if this particular vendor organization isn't able to do it, maybe staff can get together and do some type of session. I'm not sure, but I definitely know we need something that is definitely geared towards the citizens. I think that would be very helpful with all of the comments and concerns that we get about this. And it's true, yes, we can answer those questions if they're asked of us, but I do feel it's critical for them to also have information firsthand, just as we do.
Yeah. And now we did have one session, I believe it was June in the fiscal year. We did have an information session. The center actually came and put together a presentation. Unfortunately, no citizen attended. There was a room full at the old commissioners meeting room. A presentation was developed and all of the citizens left. I don't know why, but the center did put together a presentation. We'll try it again and hopefully we'll have better attendance, and it was made public. But certainly, they are the subject matter expertise to answer your question. Staff the likelihood of us putting together a presentation is very slim because we're not subject matter experts. We rely on them, and they're a really good guide. They travel over the country, across the state, have a lot of key players at hand who can provide us with information that is reliable.
Right.
And not, like you said, not misconceptions.
Definitely understand. And I definitely get what you're saying about maybe staff not being subject experts or whatever the case is. I do feel that if you are staff and you are getting information, you certainly can give an overview of the information that's being given to you. And I only speak from that just from a role that I work in. So I may not necessarily be the subject expert of it. However, if I'm giving that information, I have a responsibility to share that with the public and share it with citizens. And so I heard you also said about not many showing up. So when we get these public comments that are coming in, I think it'll be helpful when we follow up with the citizens to find out where the core concerns are, and maybe we need to host these sessions where those citizens are, so that we can have a better turnout, because there's definitely a pool of citizens that's concerned about this topic. And I just want to make sure that we stay true to our commitment and making sure that we're following up on concerns and that we're giving out information, as best we can.
Sure. Yeah. Any other comments, questions on solar?
Any others? I don't have any more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the yes, the high school presentation.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Mr. County Manager and Madam Clerk. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Rosa Atkins, Superintendent of the Northampton County Schools. We appreciate you having us here. In August 2022, Northampton County Schools was awarded a $62 million grant from the Department of Public Instruction through the General Assembly to construct a new high school. That grant was a needs-based grant that did not require any matching funds from the Northampton County. Since that time, we have been underway working with two partners, Hal Bowen from Ratio Architects, and we've been working with Blair Bordeaux from Bordeaux Construction, who is our construction manager at Risk. And we've developed plans to build a high school, and we're coming before you today to give you an update on those plans and to also make a request of you. Mr. Matthews, Phil Matthews will present that update and the question that we have before you. Mr. Matthews.
Good evening, Chair Martin and board members and Manager Phillips. Have a question, Chair Martin. I have this on a PowerPoint presentation.
Mhm.
I'm trusting you all have it in your materials. I have a couple of hard copies here if you don't, but if you have it in your materials, my only question would be is if you desire to display it or whether you just want to work from your materials.
Ms. Gatlin, is that PowerPoint the things that we have here? Yes. The ones that says facts to date and all that. Okay. Yes, we have it in our packet.
I'll just cover that then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'll start off on page one. Well, first of all, Dr. Atkins mentioned Ratio Architects and Blair, Bordeaux Construction. I just want to recognize that Hal Bowen with Ratio Architects is here tonight, and Blair Bordeaux with Bordeaux Construction is here tonight to assist with questions. I'm gonna start off on page one. I'll repeat a little bit of what Dr. Atkins already said. The new high school has been developed and it's been designed. And this is done through a steering committee, and the school will meet the needs of our students. It's funded from a needs-based public school capital fund grant, came from lottery funds. We have $61,948,156 for that. Bordeaux Construction went through a steering committee, and the school will meet the needs of our students. Was funded from a needs-based public school capital fund grant, came from lottery funds. We have $61,948,156 for that. Bordeaux Construction went through a steering committee, and the school will meet the needs of our
Let's
students.
figure out what's going on.
Was funded from a needs-based public school capital fund grant, came from lottery funds. We have $61,948,156.
Okay. I
All
think
right,
we've got it.
I'll pick up where I stopped.
All right.
Bordeaux has completed the bidding process, and with all of the bids in, the project came in 10,958,553 over budget. The scope of the work has been reduced, so we have reduced it deficit down to $6,481,622. If you'll turn on your page 2 that you have now. At the top of that page is the objective that we're trying to achieve. We want to address the deficit and move forward with the construction of the new high school. Step 1, the first thing we need to do, we need to talk about sales tax reimbursement. Sales tax spent on the materials for the construction of this school can be reclaimed. There's already an agreement in place between the school board and the local government to get reimbursed for these sales tax monies. This revenue is expected to be $1.2 million. The Northampton County Schools request that the Northampton County local government allocate the expected revenue from the sales tax reimbursement toward the construction of the new high school. And with that being held against the deficit, it reduces the deficit down to $5,281,622. The next page, I'm on page 4. With the deficit being reduced down to 5.2 million, the first option that is before you is an ask from the Northampton County local government. Northampton County local government could fund the construction of the needed football stadium and track facilities. You could put it either at your current wellness center or at the new high school. Either location will provide benefit for the high school and the public to use. The cost associated with this football field, stadium, and track is $3,921,290. Next, the Northampton County Schools would request funding the equipment for the culinary arts classroom in the amount of $248,263, and the wonder treatment for the school with the amount of $29,295. In addition, Northampton County Schools request that the Northampton County local government waive the permitting and inspection fees associated with the construction of the new high school. That is basically the ask that the school system is making of the local government. This option will be a total financial commitment from the local government of $4,198,848 to fund the football and track facility, culinary arts equipment, and wonder treatment. I have a note at the bottom. Northampton County Schools has applied for new market tax credit. Hopefully, new market tax credit funding will materialize before the current bid expires. This will permit and the planned construction to get underway, and it will reduce or eliminate the request that I just made. I want to say a little bit about the new market tax credit. This is a new thing. We have applied for it. They contacted us today. It's still looking promising. It's a hope. We have faith. We trust. Fairly confident, believe that it's going to come through. But as Mr. Blair Bordeaux says with Bordeaux Construction, hope is not a strategy. So we can't count on it until we have it. But I wanted the commissioners to know that we have applied for it. And they are working with us. We just don't know what the amount will be or whether we will actually receive it or not. The next page, page 6, is option 2. And this would be actions that would have to be taken by Northampton County Schools if option 1 is not followed through with. And that would be to reduce the square footage of the new high school by approximately 10,000 square feet. As a minimum, this option would eliminate the CTE spaces of cosmetology, HVAC, and advanced manufacturing. The square footage reduction will get the project within budget. And the only financial commitment from the county commissioners would be the sales tax reimbursement. This will require the students that's taking CTE courses to continue to travel to the current CTE site. And it may also delay the construction schedule because it may require rebidding because it's going to have a little bit more redesigning. In summary, on your last page, Northampton County Schools request Northampton County local government to consider the following. Commit the sales tax reimbursement toward the construction costs of the new high school. Waive the permitting and inspection fees associated with the high school project. And fund the football track facilities along with culinary kitchen equipment and water treatment for financial investment of $4,198,848. That concludes my presentation. Myself or my colleagues will be glad to try to address questions if there are any. We understand that no voting or decisions are expected tonight.
I only have two questions myself, since I was involved in some of the other meetings discussing this. I probably have more knowledge than some of the commissioners. One is, when does the bid actually expire so that you have to have a firm answer?
If I misspeak, I'm gonna ask Mr. Blair Bordeaux to correct me, but the bids expire February 7th to February 20th. The first bids will receive on the 7th and the last bids on the 20th.
Okay.
So February 7th to February 20th. Is that correct, Mr.?
Okay.
9th and the 23rd, 1st of February.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure if we had to do a special meeting to get action, but that's after our next scheduled meeting anyway.
I don't know about the school board meeting. February. We can talk about it
Okay. Our next scheduled meeting is the 22nd.
of January.
Yes, I
So
believe that's right.
I'm kind of going out on my own here, but I'm assuming that if we get an answer from the commissioners, maybe the board would have a special meeting before the bids are up.
Okay, all right.
Is that?
My other question was, in our previous discussions, there was some question about the tax credit as to whether Northampton County could even keep it anyway.
To address that?
Has that ever been fully
we,
researched?
we have written documentation from DPI that since the grant is coming from lottery funds, any money that is recovered like tax reimbursement has to be sent back to the state,
Right.
put in the lottery fund.
Mhm.
Once it's put in the lottery fund, it will be reallocated to our grant
Mhm.
to go towards the construction of
Right.
the school. Now the process is going to take place. Mr. Malone seems to think he can handle the process a little different. I don't know if he's talked to Mr. McKell or not.
We have, I think we're in the board members, we're in the process of getting written confirmation from the state as to Northampton's particular situation. And the holidays just got in the way, but I think we're still trying to obtain.
Right.
The only way I can answer it is the written documentation I have from DPI.
But based on the current information we have right now, Northampton County can't keep it, only the school board could benefit from it. So if
That's
we
correct.
do get the tax credit, we can't
You can't
keep it for the taxpayers of Northampton County. That's what I thought. Do any of the other commissioners have any questions?
Chairman, you asked the question that I was going to ask. When did the bid expire?
February 9th through February 20th, I believe. 9th through the 20th in February.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Mr. Matthews, has there been any, you said you were in touch about the new market tax credits with those folks today. Are they still hopeful to have some sort of answer by February last I heard?
I
Or is
can't,
that too hopeful?
I can't answer that question, but we got communication from them today asking for a budget printout of the budget for the construction process. Mr. Bordeaux has created that and we sent it to them today. So I know they're working on it. I can't be concrete beyond that.
Thank you.
Any others?
I'd like to wish you all a happy new year and ask you to pray for the new market tax credits.
I am. Thank you. Okay, I believe the next item is the potential building naming. So we have that. You've got a copy in front of you there. Anyone have any questions regarding the building naming process? I had one question, County Manager. I believe when we talked about this before, the fee was to cover the cost of a plaque if a building renaming is passed. What if the building renaming that's applied for is not approved? Would we charge that fee to the people? Okay, so the fee would only apply if the building naming is approved. Okay, that was one of the questions. I didn't want to charge people money and then they don't name the building anyway. Commissioners, does anyone else have any questions or comments about the building naming plan review? If not, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the proposed candidate appointments to the Home and Community Block Grant Advisory Council for Aging.
Good afternoon,
Good evening.
Chairman Martin, Board of Commissioner members, attorney, county attorney, and county manager, clerk to the board. Stand before you to, I'm Rose Lewis, interim senior agent director. Stand before you to ask for your approval of the proposed candidate to the Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Council. This is the time of the year, usually in January. We begin allocations, begin the Home and Community Care Block Grant funding instructions. And it's very important to have this Home and Community Care Block Grant Council convene, put together, to have a council there. Also, because we are drawing near, July, or June 30th will be here before we know it. And this council will play a part in reallocations. You know, if there's any funds that are not being completely spent, that are underspent, this council is the committee that also kind of advise. And we bring it back to the commissioners about reallocating funding.
Okay. The 7 applicants here, you need all 7. We're not supposed to choose from these 7. You're asking for all 7 to be appointed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
How many total do you need on your board?
A minimum of 9.
Okay. Have you got any already? Or,
So right now, we don't,
okay, so
we
you're
don't
gonna be
have any-
needing a couple more too then. Okay.
yes.
Just wanting to get that straight in my mind. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Lewis? No other questions?
And I will say with the bylaws, those are, applications, but there are, as you would see probably in the bylaws, that there are non-voting members, which would consist of the area agency on aging. And also, the liaison, which would be considered myself, that are non-voting members.
Anyone else have any other questions? Okay, if not, we will take action on this at our next meeting. Hopefully get you a board to work with.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is the gas and wastewater line resolution. Mr. Phillips?
Good evening, everyone, again. You should have before you two documents that were submitted on the last time around, which is the resolution and the capital project ordinance for the Gaston wastewater line resolution. The amount is $14 million. The amount represents that which was approved under Session Law 2023 for this project. You can't move forward on this project until we have this resolution in place and the capital project ordinance. The significance of this is this will allow us to then draw down on the monies for this project. The monies that were already expended, such as any type of site analysis, the basic beginning stages of any project that's allowable, which we have expended, those monies will be able to be recouped. You can't draw down until we have the resolution in place. There are milestones that are listed, and it's on page 2 of 4. The next milestone is for an engineer report that's due on February 3rd. But again, you have to do this part first. Let's get this part in so that we can submit this back to the government. And they have been advising us along the way. And we had Derek and Kenya has been trained on how to process the necessary paperwork so that we can get our funding. So they're still holding on to this cash until we submit the documents.
Okay. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions for the county manager?
Mr. Phillips, I think you just answered my question. My question was who was handling the milestones of the project, making sure that each milestone was done timely. So if I'm correct, I'm hearing you say that all of that is being done through our economic development department.
We got economic development department. Our engineer is, correct me if I'm wrong, Stocks engineer. They're on this. So our team, and of course our finance officer, we've got a team that's responsible for doing specific parts of this project to make sure that we keep to the milestones.
Okay.
And Ms. Phillips, so the total award is 18,321,000, correct?
Right.
And so But to move forward, it has to be appropriations of this 14,014,821.
And the way it works is you have to develop a scope of work,
Yes,
and the scope of work can only be for the particular project that's underway. So since this project is underway, you can now submit your request. They'll hold on to the balance of that money until we get to that next phase of the project. So once we have a scope of work for the next phase of the project, we can submit for that as well. And that was provided in the training. So you might have, and Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, because I heard part of the training, but you might have 10 different scopes for the entire process.
right.
But you will submit for drawdown as you go along the way. So you're not waiting until, this way the county doesn't have to expend all the money. We're not going to do that. We're not going to pay out $14 million of county money and then try and get reimbursed. The money is there. So once we develop the scope, we can process the paperwork and get the money up front and proceed.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And any of the difference between the 14 million and the 18 million, we can then draw down from that once a new scope of work has been presented.
Once a new scope has been
Yes.
presented.
So
I'm clear. Thank you,
either
Mr.
a
Bennett,
new
Mr. Bennett.
project that's
Yes.
applicable to waste, water, or water treatment,
Right,
or the same project if there is a cost overrun.
clear.
As long as it's applicable to wastewater and water treatment.
Thank y'all so much.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item 12, Conway Fire Department. You can pass out your documents to us.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, on behalf of the Conway Volunteer Fire Department, I want to thank y'all for your time that you've given Joe and myself tonight to review with y'all what we have done since the last time we were here on our fire tax request. And last time that we were here, we had the county fire tax hearing. And one of the concerns that y'all had on that was, did we advertise it well enough? Well, we may not have, but this time I think we got that covered. So with the help of Mr. Phillips and our tax department, we have the tax department has mailed letters out to all the property owners in our area. We had the sign in Conway for about 3 weeks downtown up. It was put in the newspaper for about 3 weeks. It was also put in the town newsletter. It was put in the local church bulletins. It was posted a notice at the Conway businesses. It was put on the Volunteer Fire Department Facebook page. Also on the Northampton County Facebook and the Northampton County website. So hopefully we covered all our bases on that this time. So we actually had our fire department hearing at the fire department on October the 23rd. Approximately 75 citizens were present for that hearing. There were positive comments from several citizens supporting the 7-cent fire tax. There was a few citizens asking to exempt farm equipment from the fire tax. And we talked about that in the department at a meeting. And there's no other town in the county that exempts farm equipment and fire tax. So we felt like to be consistent with the county, we need to do the same thing. And if we did exempt the farm equipment, we would have to increase our tax rate of what we're asking to compensate for that. So that's pretty much where we are now. So Mr. Phillips has asked us to come tonight, and the presentation that you've got is the same presentation that we presented at the fire tax hearing in the fire department the last time we did it in October. So And Mr. Phillips asked us to be brief, so if we move too fast for you, stop us and we'll address any questions you have. All right, page number 1. That's a fire tax map. I've got some better maps, larger maps if y'all need to see them. But basically the same as it was last time. We're bounded on each side by 7 at the top. Then Seaboard, then Jackson, then Liska, and then Woodland. So we're bounded on all sides by other apartments. The taxable property in our service area is $297 million worth of property. And Bakelite, which is a chemical plant in Conway, makes up about 20 million of that. On page 3, property owner effect. As you see, Bakelite is they will be hit the hardest. They'll pay $14,000 worth of fire tax. And a random $100,000 property will pay $70, $200, $140 right on down the line. So total taxable property is $297 million. And what we're asking for is 7 cents on the dollar on that is $208,000. Which is the same as we asked for last time. Page 4, that's a sheet that we put in this time to kind of give you an idea of what departments have been receiving tax. Some departments have been receiving tax for better than 25 years. Fortunately, we have survived up till 9, but now if we keep running our apartment and like in the way we are, we're going to have some help.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice some of the departments are getting up to 300,000. We're asking 200, and there's some in between and some a little bit lower. Next page, page 5, income and expense. Our guaranteed annual income in 2024 from the town of Conway was $18,000. Plus, they take care of our utilities and water bill. Northampton County, we received $8,500. So a total of $26,500. Our annual operating budget was right at $60,000. Now that does not include any purchases of major equipment like new fire trucks. That's only to operate our department and keep it going. Some of the major expenses is 2023 and 24. Something comes right off the top, $11,000 worth of insurance for the firemen. Fire equipment in 2023, we spent a little bit more than we did last year, 27 compared to 10. And that's not any major equipment. That's just equipment we have to replace, equipment that, for firefighters and things of that nature. Annual pump certification, that's something we have to do every year. And last year was right at $10,000. So a total of about $30,000 on just those major expenses, not counting the other expenses we have within the department. Page 6, sum of expenses. If we're assuming our fixed operating costs of $60,000 and we want to purchase a $650,000 truck at 7% interest, our annual expense would be about $218,000 a year for the next 5 years. In order to get this, we need a tax rate of 7 cents, assuming all taxes are collected. And Joe's going to go through the rest of it, and he'll explain to you about how we've been impacted by the cost of new fire equipment and things of that nature. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Johnny could have just kept on going. But we are pleased that we're here. And I know I've been where you're sitting, and you hear all the time people, when they come before you, they want money. And it seems like oftentimes it's not enough. But we made 138 calls this past year. The average call was 52 minutes, and we had 6 personnel on scene. We had a response time of about 1.37 minutes. That's amazing for a volunteer fire department, I can tell you that. And the average travel time that we had on scene was about a little less than 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 50 seconds. We had 1,777 training hours of our personnel. And we had 2,124 personal hours being put into the department, and some weren't even recorded. These are non-paid citizens that have a full-time job that are working for our citizens. Of the calls last 5 years, 13% were inside the town limits of Conway. And 56% were outside the limits, and 31% of them were mutual aid. And of course, y'all, I'm sure, familiar with the mutual aid. Anytime there's a structure fire, there are two departments sent. Currently, we've got a decommissioned 1953 high pumper. We don't use it. We have a 1996, which is 29 years old now, currently in service. We paid $166,000 for it. 1999, which is 26 years old, we paid $193,000 for it. We got a 2004 mini pumper, which is four-wheel drive, and we could take it in the field or whatever. $145,000, and that truck is 21 years old. We got a 2017 pumper tanker that's 8 years old now, and we paid $263,000 for it. And a new pumper like the 2017, equipped similarly, well, last year it would have been over $600,000, but I'm sure it's closer to the 700,000 figure now if you quoted it. And Conway is also providing medium duty rescue, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in just a few minutes. But each of the departments have to go through certifications, ISO certifications, and it covers a vast array of things that we have to do. And it includes the response times, the firefighters, average scene time, and flowable GPMs, and age of the equipment, training, hydrant inspection, testing, the water flow throughout your water system, and the maintenance on that water system. And right now, Conway's got a 5 rating, which is the lowest rating we can get until we go to paid firemen. And but of course, we're proud of that, and it has saved our community money through their homeowners insurance. If we lose that rating, if we go back to a higher rating, everybody's insurance goes back up. To outfit one firefighter today is in the neighborhood of $13,000. The self-contained breathing apparatus that he's got to wear, it is going to cost around $9,000. And the PPE that he has to wear is about $4,000. The life of most of this equipment is about 10 years. And we have to be compliant with OSHA regulations regarding that. And many times fire hose and stuff like that has to be replaced because it gets damaged or burned or whatever on scene. And also, Johnny mentioned third-party testing. We have to have third-party testing on this equipment each year, and other maintenance provided as well. Now, OSHA is proposing, this is not gone in yet, that every firefighter have 1,080 hours of certified training. They require all the apparatus that are 15 years old or older to be replaced in the next 3 years. The cost of CVFD would be $4 million. Require all firefighters to have a physical fitness test. That would be $13,500. Require all PPE to be less than 10 years old. That would be $51,000 for us. Require all SCBA to be replaced every 15 years. That would be $207,000. And of course, replace all tires 7 years old and older. And based upon what we've replaced recently, our cost would be around $5,000. In the United States today, 68% of the fire departments are volunteer. Now, they could be a combination which has some paid and some volunteer, but the fire departments that we have in our county are volunteers. And we try to suit 30 firemen. None of the firemen are paid a dime at all. They don't have any, and they even pay their own pension through the fire service. And of course, after you have 20 years and 55 years of age, I think it's about $170, which is a lot of money. You might go out to eat a couple of times on that a day's rate. But Conway was, as I mentioned, went on scene 138 times this year. And we had some expenses that were a little bit different than what Johnny quoted. Some of them were similar. The insurance was $12,180. The fire equipment that we bought this year was $42,226. And the fire truck, as he told you, that was a little less than $10,000. And these costs don't include our normal expenses. And you say, well, how'd you spend all this money? Well, I'll tell you how we spent all this money. The Conway Volunteer Fire Department has got one of the best ladies auxiliary in the state. And they raised $23,000 for us this year. We also had a state grant that came in at about $39,000. We have these other things, and we have a donation supper. I think that grossed around $17,000. We have a gun raffle each year. And so we have donations. We have the Ladies Auxiliary. We got other fundraising projects. And you keep in mind, the firemen have to work on these outside of their fire duties. You know, the average cost of a volunteer fire department nationwide is basically around $200,000 to $500,000 a year. Now, you say, well, how are these other departments doing what they're doing? Well, they're not doing some of the things that they could do. I can tell you, if they were better equipped or better housed. I don't have to tell you, you just heard what happened to the school system. And every year things go up. If we buy a truck now, like I said, one that we paid $263,000, you're talking about close to $700,000 now. And look, folks, this is a commercial truck. It's like a Peterbilt or a International. It's not a custom made. A custom made truck is over $1 million typically. Conway can't afford a custom truck. But we want to continue to provide the services for our citizens, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. But without some other resources with regards to funding, we're getting to the point that the prices are going so high that we can't manage it. And you know, for years, and I'm not trying to put any blame on anybody, but we haven't supported our local fire departments in a manner that would keep up with the times. You heard from the school system tonight how much things have gone up. And I want to talk about the medium duty rescue truck. We bought a used medium duty rescue truck, excuse me. We got a grant to do that. We couldn't buy a new one because a new one was $830-some thousand. We bought a used truck and we're having it fitted at the fire connections now. But we're using that grant money to pay for that. Any of that money that is not spent, we send it back. We're obligated. We can't keep it. But so we have to continue. Now, what we did do, training wise, we went ahead and got, you have to have a minimum of 8 personnel certified in extrication and these other classes to be medium duty rescue. And we do have those 8. We've got the equipment. In the last several 2-3 years, I guess we've probably spent $50,000-$60,000 on equipment to cut people out of a car or cut the car to pieces so we can get them back. Once we get this truck back in the building and we have it inspected, we'll be the second department in the county that can provide this medium duty rescue. I hope I haven't talked too long, but I'm trying to give you an idea. I guess of how poor we are, how much we are in need, and I appreciate your time for allowing us to do that.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the Conway Fire Department? Do we have to have another public hearing in order
Yes,
to-
so I think, you know, at the next meeting, when this comes up, I mean, I think it will be, if it's the board's consensus to move forward, then at that point, the county would issue, there's a whole package under the statutes that have to go out to all the affected landowners that we do in conjunction through the tax department. And at that point, after that notice goes out, the board would have to have a public hearing and then take a vote on whether to establish the new tax district before the next fiscal year's budget is approved.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question. Just have a quick question. Thank you, gentlemen, for presenting. I salute the Conway Volunteer Fire Department as well as all the volunteer fire departments in Northampton County for all the work they do. Much needed. And everything is going up astronomically. I agree. Just for clarity, when it says SCBA, and I'm on this page right here. Self-contained breathing apparatus. And absolutely, absolutely. Went up 2,000. Okay, I'm clear. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, thank y'all for your presentation. It definitely seems like you've addressed one of our major concerns with that there was adequate notice.
Adequate notice.
We're trying.
To everyone.
Thank
All right, thank you. Next is the Southern Bank, Miss Langford. Okay, I guess you changed. How you doing, Mr. Quashie?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm glad to be here with you on this evening. Mayor Langford wanted to be here. She's under the weather. I know she communicated with you, Mr. Phillips, earlier, but she just wasn't able to come. But I am pleased to say that Dr. Carmelita Coleman, who is one of the town commissioners present, our clerk, Krista Hampton Data from Northampton County is also here. I serve as a commissioner and the mayor pro tem. I have a short letter from Mayor Langford, and it's dated today, and she states that the town of Seaboard is requesting Northampton County transfers ownership and the maintenance responsibility of the former Southern Bank and Trust Company building located at 200 South Main Street, Seaboard, North Carolina, to the town of Seaboard. Upon transfer of ownership, the town of Seaboard will perform the following: assume the insurance, security, and maintenance responsibility of the building, initiate a plan to refurbish the street level floor for a community meeting place, senior citizen meals and activities, and expansion of the current county health department sponsored adult exercise classes. Plan for renovation of the second story of the building for youth after school programs and a variety of youth activities. Seek additional partnerships with the Northampton County Aging Office, the Cooperative Extension Office, and the Health Department to provide more services directly to the citizens in the town of Seaboard and the nearby vicinity. Make this long-standing vacant Main Street building useful to the community and preclude further deterioration of the structure. We value the strong support that Northampton County has provided the town of Seaboard over the years. Thank you for considering our request to acquire the former Southern Bank and Trust Company building for the citizens of Seaboard. Sincerely, Geraldine Lake J. Langford, Mayor. And I would like to add that we've seen this building withstand damage from storms. There's been some vandalism. And it's a beautiful building, but it is deteriorating. As you all know, what happens with a house, it just sits without being used. And that's in the same state. And we see this as a benefit to the county of which we live, in that the county would no longer have to assume these costs and be responsible for the building. And then the town of Seaboard would take over those responsibilities, but we could keep the building up and utilize it for our citizens, for our young people and for our seniors. And I want to be clear, where it says transfer ownership, we're not asking to buy it. We don't have the funds to purchase. We're asking the county to donate that building to the town of Seaboard. And I'll be glad to answer any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Judge Washiki? I believe I spoke to the county manager about this a little bit. I think our original plans when it was obtained before my time, but was to do some of these same things. We just didn't have the money ourselves to do it. So, you know, it would be filling a need.
Judge Korshibi, thank you so much for the presentation. And you're right, when you look at anything unoccupied, it goes down. And we can see remnants of that even with schools like Gaston High School, Seaboard Coates. Unfortunately, in rural America, it's population decline versus population increase. And thank you and the town of Seaboard for having a vision, much so just like other townships. And I just mentioned Garysburg, all the things that they have done to Garysburg Elementary School. And so when you look at that, this is, I appreciate the town of Seaboard looking out for buildings that still stand and have use for, especially when you talk about our seniors.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your consideration.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir. And Madam Clerk, I have copies of.
All right. Ms. Vick?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I come before you tonight with two rate increases. The first is for Sharps Biomedical Waste Service Agreement rate increase. And the Health Department has utilized Sharps for biomedical waste collection disposal since 2021, a 3-year agreement. And the Sharps Medical Waste Services collects and disposes of regulated medical waste such as infectious, pathological, non-hazardous, pharmaceutical waste, and Sharps waste. The 2021 agreement you will see here is at a rate of $42.26 per box with a fuel and environmental fee of 17.97%. And the new rate will be $76.67 per box with the fuel and environmental fee staying the same at the 17.97%. So as we were going through our contracts, which we do obviously on an annual basis, and we see that this one was coming to term. This was a request from this specific vendor to increase this rate increase. Or to request the rate increase. Any questions?
Do we know why it went up so much?
This is I don't know how much. I think, I mean, just like you'll see with this one, just like I came last month, everybody is increasing everything that they have.
I didn't know if some of the regulations of how it's disposed changed or something.
No, we did ask about that, about what is specifically, and they said that they weigh the amount that they have, but that this was just, I think with all the increases in inflation of everything else going up, this is just what they have requested.
Okay.
Is this the only company that we've checked on prices?
I know it's the only company that we have used since I have been health director, but I mean, I can certainly ask to see around if there are other companies that do this. I know that EMS has been, and I don't know if they've come before you, but I know that they have been asking for another company too, like Sharps, that they can start using as well. But I can certainly ask around and see what other area of departments are using and what their rates are.
How is this cost paid for? Is it reimbursed through any of the medical care costs, like when people
No, this is
Like,
through our, just
it
our
just
regular
comes
health,
through our-
mhm,
budget?
our regular health budget.
Ms. Vick, with an increase like this, are they gonna give us anything else or do anything else for us?
Nope, they just pick up what, because I mean, it's a mandated thing. The things that they are picking up is not something that we can just throw in the trash. So regardless of if it's them or somewhere else, we've got to have this type of service to come and pick up this type of waste.
Right.
But no, we don't really get anything other
Mhm.
than them picking up this hazardous waste
How often do they come to pick up the waste?
every 2 weeks.
Is,
Is it,
yeah.
is it
Go ahead.
currently in your budget, for the health department, Ms. Vick,
For
this
the- for this-
increase?
Yes, we can
Or
cover
would-
the
would it-
increase in this.
You can cover the increase
Yes,
in the
sir.
current budget.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this issue? All right. Okay. You got other things?
The next one that I have is a rate adjustment for our existing contract with Access East. And Access East, we came into contract with them in September of 2022 for our after-hours patient call with nurse-based triage services. And this is a requirement for us to be an AMH3, which is Advanced Medical Home Tier 3. It's a requirement for us to do this and to provide primary care, in which we do, to have this service. So rates have remained the same since 2022. But however, due to growing labor supply and insurance costs across Access East, they are asking for some of increases in their rates. They are asking for the monthly subscriber fee right now is $60, and they are requesting to change that to $75 per provider. We only have one provider right now that we are paying for these after hours, so it would be an increase of $15 per month. And then our triage call fee is an increase from $20 to $22 per call, so that's an increase of $2. And then the non-triage call fee, which is an increase from $5 to $10 per call. And then the provider paging rate will remain the same at $10 per page. But these are just calls that have that come in after hours. That it's not a huge amount that we have had because we don't have, after hours care. A lot of the times they either triage to, if it's just an informational call, that you'll see that. And then of course, if it's something that needs to page our provider, or if it's something emergent, that they will tell them to go to the emergency room.
You kind of answered my question. I was gonna ask, how often does this happen?
It's not very often.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions about this item?
Ms. Vick, how many nurses do you have within the health department?
Okay, so we have for our home health section, we have 4 for our home health currently. We also have an LPN. Those are for RNs and 1 LPN on our home health side. On our clinical side, we have 1 director of nursing. We have 2 RNs, 1 part-time RN. And we have 3 openings right now. And then we have our nurse practitioner. We have, I think, 3 openings right now for RN. We have our jail health nurse, communicable disease, nurse and supervisor, and actually it's 4, and our general clinic nurse open right now and are posted.
Those openings, are they on our website?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Three nurses to leave at one time?
We had, and I believe it started in November, but I know 2 of them went to the hospital because it's more money, and we we cannot compete with the money that the hospital is providing. One left to do, more something that was in line with their scope that they wanted to do. They wanted to do more private in-house care. And then, one of them one got promoted to director of nursing, so we have her position open right now, the nursing supervisor. And then, of course, we have our nurse practitioner who is our provider full-time, so she's in there as well.
That's concerning.
Very.
It has been, and we've had these conversations with area departments across the state and it's something that I'm gonna be talking to you about when come budget time, but it is very concerning around this area specifically to try to get qualified nurses that are coming for the pay that we have to offer. And I fear that if we do not do something, to try to incentivize these people, especially the young ones that come, because we've talked about this in our department, you know, our benefits for the county are great. But for somebody who is young coming out of college that don't maybe not be thinking about retirement or the time off to be with their families, it's
They're just
not,
looking at money.
it is. I
The
mean,
bottom line.
it's just how
Yes.
it is right now. So we are gonna be talking about some of that with my Board of Health and then with Mr. Phillips too about our budget going forward. It's not only with our nurses, it's with some of the other positions, but just like environmental health. We've had that position, I think, open for 4 years, 3 or 4 years. So it's concerning. But it's also not only a situation that only Northampton County is having right now. It's all of rural eastern North Carolina.
Anyone else have any questions?
We need to really follow that. That's real concerning.
Yep.
Mhm.
You have anything else? All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Mason, are you awake? Been keeping you so long.
That's all right. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am before you on behalf of our taxpayers this evening with 2 items to bring before you. The first one is to get your approval for 2 ad valorem tax appeals in the amount of $3,292.69. And I understand we're not doing approvals tonight, so I'll just go ahead.
Right, yes, ma'am.
The other is to get your approval for motor vehicle tax appeals, 11 of them in the amount of $1,327.03. That's all I have this evening.
Okay. And all of these are in accordance with the rules and regulations.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone else have any questions? If not, thank you. and
Thank you, sir.
we'll act on it next meeting. Okay. Tax matters,
Financial.
financial, excuse me.
Financial.
Yes, financial matters. I'm looking at tax again.
I'm gonna,
Okay, you can present that. I
yeah, I'm
think
gonna
Ms. Walker-
present for Kenya. She had some
Okay.
technical difficulties getting on online this evening. But you have before you 5 budget amendments, budget amendment 26 through 30. And I'll just go through each of them and I'll answer any questions that I can, and if I can't, we definitely will get you the answers. Budget amendment number 26 is new revenues received for the senior center grant funding. Senior center grant funding received in the amount of $5,000. That was new revenues received. And y'all can stop me if you want to ask any questions. I'm just gonna run through them.
All right.
Budget amendment 27. That was IRS adjusted refund received in the amount of $17,957.53. Budget Amendment 28. This is USD payment. That's the grant that they're paying us. This is basically like a pass through. We get as the project is proceeding on the annex, the contractor, Chesham, he presents all of his invoices and we present them to USDA for approval. They approve it and then they submit the funds to our checking account and then we pay Chesham. So this is in the amount of $871,954.23. Budget amendment number 29 is the same thing. Again, we're receiving USDA payment in the amount of $934,493.03.
Okay.
And then finally, budget amendment number 30 is the ABC store rent payment in the amount of $1,500. That's all of the budget amendments for this evening. If you have no questions, I do have a report, a very tiny report. This is the monthly financial report. This is for the month of November. I also wanted to note that since we're going back to meeting twice a month, we'll be able to, I'm gonna put it on the tail end of the month, so you'll have current up to date. So you'll get another report on our next meeting for December year to date.
Okay.
So then going forward, you'll have the current instead of being 1 month behind. The rule of thumb for the month of November is that we spend no more than 41.7% in any of the funds that's listed here. And I'm just going to go down to the expenditure side first and look at general fund. We spent 37% November year to date, or 14,136,000. DSS spent 28%, or 2,252,000. Enterprise spent 22%, or 752,000. Garrisburg Water and Sewer spent 22%, or 172,000. And Solid Waste spent 38%, or 1,093,000. On the revenue side, year to date, we have collected 34% of our revenue, or $18,273,000. We also like to look at what we did prior year. Prior year, we were at about 36%, or 88,000. So we're pretty much on target, and we know what the revenues, the taxes being due around this time of the year. We should see the bulk of our revenues coming in between December, January, February timeframe. That's all I have for the financial review. That's it for the finance section.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the county manager in regard to the finance statement? Okay. If not, do you have any comments?
Yes. I just wanted to introduce Mr. Brad Van, if he can stand up. Brad Van is our new director of buildings and grounds and solid waste. He comes with over 20+ years of facilities management. I'll allow you to do a quick 1 minute, just who you are and he's acting shy, but Brad is he's on top of his game. He's a type that you can call and he can get things done for you. Brad replaces Anthony. Anthony was the buildings and grounds director. Anthony is still with the county. He's just accepted a lesser role.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
And also wanted to point out that we finally finished the auditors have finally completed their report write-up. The draft is done. It was submitted to the LGC before midnight on December 31st. So I would have to go and check the record books for when that was last done. So I'm very thankful for that. We will have the auditors here on next week. The next meeting that we have, we'll have the auditors from our audit firm here to present the draft audit to you all.
Okay.
We're also starting the budget worksheets for the 25-26 budget season. I'm gonna put together a schedule for you all to approve as far as when we will meet for the workshops and presentations and that good stuff.
Okay.
So we're rocking and rolling, but I'm thankful for getting that audit done. I think it's the first time we will have actual audit data that we can refer to. And we've got 6 months left in the fiscal year that we can now focus on what do we need to do as far as we knew with the audit, and you'll hear the auditors mention this, we completed 3 audits in 1 year. That's a big deal. You know, I'm not just patting myself on the back, I'm patting the finance department, anyone who had a role, going down to health department, DSS, everyone that had to take part in that audit. It was a monumental task, but we got it done and we are current. We plan to stay current. So that's all I've got for tonight. I always want to thank everyone who comes out. You don't have to come out, but you come out because you care about your county, and we're thankful for your comments. We're going to continue to partner with you all as we move forward to make Northampton County the greatest place that you can possibly want to live. Thank you. So,
Okay, we'll continue with commissioner comments. Ms. Broadnax Taylor, you have any comments?
Just like to thank everybody for coming out tonight in this weather. This shows your commitment and love for Northampton County. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank everyone for coming out and want to say I had the pleasure of attending the grand opening at the ABC store in is that what town is that? Gaston? Birdburg. And appreciate everyone for coming out and thank you all for the hard work of having that grand opening, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Commissioner Whitaker.
Just want to thank everyone for coming out, all of the citizens, those that are also online. I also want to give thanks to the staff that are here for the information that you give. I would like to share with everybody to please continue to be safe throughout the week, because I know we are anticipating some more possibility of inclement weather near the weekend. But again, thank you for your dedication and your commitment.
Commissioner Evans.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight in this bad weather. Thank you for sharing your information about our county. We want our county to be the best that we can make it. And it's up to the people of Northampton to give us information that we need to carry on. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and as always, we appreciate your participation, and drive careful tonight because the temperature is probably dropping out there and some of this wetness may have frozen in the meantime, but everyone drive careful. Do we have a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we move into closed session in reference to General Statute 143-318.11 A6 personnel.
Second.
All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. All right, we will now go into closed session.